If you are in a place where you know you need to change how you see yourself, and you're struggling with what that looks like on a daily basis and truly growing your identity and making that new identity stick, then listen up. That is what today is about. Welcome back to the Nomad CEO podcast. I'm Kenz, your host, and I'm going to talk about a very simple formula that I've used in one-on-one coaching for many years and in group coaching that has really helped me and helps the clients that I've worked with in simplifying true behavior change at an identity level. So let me explain. The simple formula is that our input equals our outlook that equals our output that creates the outcome. Our input is how we consume things, what we allow into our brain, what we read, what we listen to, what we study, what conversations that we have, the thoughts that we hear, the thoughts that we even that then formulate our outlook and how we think. So how we consume things is how we view things. And our view, our perspective on what we see in our life is then how we do things. So our input equals our outlook equals our output. How we consume things is how we view things, is how we do things. So when it comes to changing how we see ourselves, if we want a different output, the person that acts like this, if you want to be a runner, I am a runner and I act in this way, I therefore run. Or I am an entrepreneur, I therefore build businesses. So that's what I do. That is who I am. Then it's so helpful and so important to make sure that our input aligns with that. Runners are going to listen to running podcasts or reading running books or be part of running clubs and having running conversations. Entrepreneurs do the same darn thing. So whoever you are yearning to become and envisioning yourself to be, then make your input match that. If you're on social media, you can, to a degree, control your algorithm. And so who you follow, what you pay attention to, the more time you spend on a post, the more the algorithm is saying, or you like something, show this person more of that thing. So I can keep you on our platform and create addiction out of it, basically. And so you can create that when you're clear on who I want to become. I'm going to create that input. So how we consume things is so, so important. And I had an amazing mentor for a decade that to this day is it's like a second dad to me. I love him so much. His name's Randy Jasmine. And he would always talk about how so much of our world or so much of our mind is it's like a cup of coffee. This black cup, and don't get me wrong, I love black coffee. For the analogy's sake, it's dark, it's maybe toxic, it's not good, it's not healthy. From this perspective, it's just dark. And our input is like the cream. So when we put more cream in the coffee, it starts to dilute. The solution to pollution is dilution. And so when we allow that into our brain and we focus on good things, on things that are healthy and holy and helpful, then we're going to get more of that in our life. And so that dilutes the coffee. Now, from an actual side note, coffee perspective, I like coffee with some MCT oil and collagen and, or some non-dairy creamer. That's not the point. Or some organic, like grass-fed milk, A2, something like that every once in a while. The point is of if our things are dark in our brain, pour in the light. And that's what that will do. So being really mindful of our input and knowing what you're sensitive to. Like, I'll give you a personal example. I'm sensitive to murder shows. Okay. Like, my mom loves them. So whenever I'm visiting, she's like watching this crime, who killed who, the dramatic music of the buildup of the situation. Like, I'm too sensitive for that. Like, that input for me, I can watch it from time to time, but then I have to like pour in all this good stuff after. I personally am just not the person that can sit and listen to that because my brain will stew on that and that'll change how I view things. And I start to live in more fear. And don't get me wrong, I can appreciate, because I'm a pretty optimistic, happy-go-lucky kind of gal when I go out into the world. I do appreciate reminders to be mindful and to be, not always so trusting of people and to know the situations I may put myself in. And I've come a long way with that, trust me. So I can appreciate the reminder. However, I just know I'm not going to watch that every day because I have to steward my mind. Same thing when people are gossiping about other people or they're venting about their life or their whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe in small doses. However, I'm sensitive to that input. That's going to change how I view things and that's going to change how I do things. And so know yourself, right? Know how you're wired because I have other friends and my mom too that they can watch murder shows all day long and they're not going to live in fear. They're just like, oh, that's fascinating to them. I don't know how they interpret it. So if that's you, bless you. But that's just an example of knowing how our input impacts our outlook. So then in our outlook, if we're working to change our thoughts in our mind and reshape that, and let's say you're battling that, we'll look at what you've allowed in your input, right? Are you just pouring more coffee into the cup versus the creamer? Because if you are working on yourself, like I'll give you another personal example that why I deleted social media in the beginning, now, gosh, almost 10 years ago, was because I really battled comparison. And so whenever I got on social media, that input, then my outlook was just comparing myself to other people, whether they're traveling or they're super fit or beautiful or whatever. That wasn't helpful. So then my output was not healthy. It wasn't coming from a place of security and peace and alignment and confidence. It was coming from a totally destructive place. So I then got off social media for 8 freaking years and protected my brain to get to a place now that I steward how I consume that input. Because quite frankly, I don't think to the like if I allowed my brain to have this input go haywire like it was before, then I could see that my life would get back to where it was before, and I'm not going there. And so I have these hedges and boundaries on what I allow into my brain, especially consistently. And so now I really don't battle comparison. If anything, I probably compare myself to my past self in certain ways. And even still, though, I have way more grace. I have way more forgiveness. I have way more confidence and security in who I am and how I was made and how I look. And it's just a different way to be and show up in the world that way. And so that impacts my identity. That impacts how I view myself and how I view the world. And then output, what we do. Are we doing things based off of approval, based off of insecurity, based off of scarcity? Or are we doing things based out of abundance and out of confidence and out of alignment and purpose? And truly, this, again, it's such a simple equation that will equal our outcome. Reflect on that. What's the outcome that you have in your life and what are you doing consistently? And if you want to reverse engineer that, go back to what you're consuming in your brain and allowing into your life. And that could be certain relationships. There could be boundaries that need to be made because some people are kind of toxic in your life. And not that they're bad people or anything. It's just they've not managed their mind. They've not managed their input. And so if you want to then do that, get around other people that are doing that. And the beautiful thing about, say, how social media can be, or I'm a big, obviously podcaster, a podcast or even Audible book or whatever, you can be driving throughout your day around town or on a walk or at the gym and having that input come in. I have I call it the Epic 8 tracker within World Changers. It's a tracking sheet for our habits that will help us change our own world and the world around us on a consistent basis. And 2 of the daily habits are what we listen to and what we read. And so being mindful of that, because to me, it's like, it's twofold. Our minds and our brains are on a trajectory of where they were yesterday, each day that we wake up. So if we are caught in a toxic thought loop and it's not serving us, then it's a lot easier to wait. We're going to wake up the next day and our brain's going to go there. So we really ride the wave of what we've been thinking each day. And on the other side, we can also renew our mind and rewire our brain every day, at least to some degree. And it's a responsibility. That's why the very first thing I do in the morning, within that first hour, the first thing I do is I have water and put electrolytes and creatine, all that stuff in it. I'll do lemon water sometimes and go out on a walk and get outside for 10, 15 minutes. And then I come back in and for me, it's the word of God in my brain, because I know to this day, I'm not so good that I couldn't be pulled other direction. So that is a non-negotiable for me to put into my brain every single day, because it's input. It changes how I view things. It changes how I do things and the outcome that I get. That doesn't have to be the case for you. Maybe you believe in a different type of spiritual philosophy. So whatever that context is for you, however you can pour into your cup, creating that, right? Reverse engineering to make that happen and building hedges in your life. In another podcast, I talked about the power of a weekly meeting, and I've talked about the power of morning and nightly routines. Those are systems to help with this formula of input equals outlook equals output equals outcome. And so really you can break apart those simple frameworks, the system and the formula, and put them together to say, hey, in my morning routine, I'm going to have some spiritual input. I'm going to have some mental, emotional input. I personally use an app called Opal. It blocks my social media. It blocks my messaging on my phone. It blocks my email, my WhatsApp, all that, so that because I could be tempted some mornings to get up and check that first thing. That's input right off the bat. I wait typically an hour until after I get up. And really it's when I've gone through emotionally and I know I can start the day from a whole place. I can start the day from a place of peace and purpose and clarity versus reactivity. and lack or fear. And then I enter into that other input that could potentially get me off, but I've put cream in the coffee where I can handle maybe a little more coffee if it comes in because I'm going to keep adding cream. And so I do believe in having hedges, morning and evening in our week and even throughout the day that are our go-tos. Like I'll ask you this, when things get out of whack and off track, what is your instinct to get yourself back on track? What do you do? Where do you go? What do you listen to? Who do you call? How do you create space for yourself to process? That often will expose what our true valued input is. And when that input is like, do you get on social media? Do you watch TV? Do you call and vent to a friend that you know isn't actually going to help? You're just stimulating the problem more versus you're venting to heal and move forward. Very different. And so that will reveal where you're currently at, and no shame in the game if it's not where you want to be. It's an opportunity to create that change. So I hope this serves you. Hope this makes sense. If you have any questions or comments or concerns ever, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. My socials are linked below. And yeah, leave a rating and review. Love that. Helps us grow the podcast. This is a mission-driven podcast all over the world, and we are here to connect with more people. So much love, my friends. You are beautiful and handsome world changers, and we'll talk soon.